Hey everybody, it's Gomlex and welcome back to some more Magic Green, and today I'll be playing another Innistrad Midnight Hunt Premier Draft, and we have a sick rare in the pack, Sigarda, Champion of Light, 4 mana for a 4/4 flying trample that gives all your humans +1/+1, and has a powerful Coven trigger allowing you to look at the top 5 cards of your library, reveal a human from among them, and put it into your hand. So Sigarda's a really interesting pick one pack one here, not because it's particularly close between any of the other cards in the pack, but because Sigarda goes you or puts you down a route that you won't usually go in this draft format. We're going to go with human tribals here. Now we want to pick up humans specifically as a card type, and there's not very many human tribal cards in the set. There's none at like common or uncommon. They're just some rare or mythics that would combo well there. So it's going to be a pretty interesting draft here where we're going to prioritize humans pretty highly. That being said, Sigarda's Splendor to follow up with Sigarda seems like just such a good flavor win. We kind of have to take it here. I don't think Sigarda's Splendor is the craziest rare ever. Basically, if you're already in a position to be defending yourself well, it's going to draw you a lot of cards, very similar to Cosmos Elixir from Kaldheim if you've drafted that format. You play this, note your life total, say you're at 20 life when you play this. Next turn, if you're at 20 life or more, then you'll draw a card. If you've taken damage to where you're at 19, you're not going to draw a card in your next upkeep. But this gives you a little bit of life gain whenever you cast a white spell to help keep you at a high enough life total to keep drawing cards with this. So, Sigarda Splendor, pretty great card. As long as you're not really getting beaten down. If you're getting beaten down and you draw Splendor, you're always going to feel bad. But when the board states at parity, when you and your opponent are kind of at a bit of a stalemate, it can absolutely take over the game with a ton of card advantage, so great card there. Here we have Search Party Captain, I think, being the best creature in this pack. It's also a human, which is excellent. So 4 mana for a 2/2, but it costs 1 less to cast for each creature you attack with this turn, and it draws you a card when it comes into play. So it replaces itself, and you can often cast it for pretty cheap, so really great deal here. Ardent Elementalist, I think, is a little bit better. This card is just excellent, but it's off color. Novice Occultist is solid, but off color. In terms of the cards in white and green, I think Search Party Captain is the best by a decent amount, so we'll scoop that up. It also happens to be a human, which is pretty perfect. So now, while I do want some humans to go with Sigarda, green and white have more humans than any other creature type. That might not be true in green. Green might have more werewolves, but there are a lot of humans in green and white, so I feel like we don't have to draft them so highly that I want to take one of these green creatures over the Loyal Gryph here, because I do really like Loyal Gryph, especially with cards like Search Party Captain. This one's a 3 mana 2/2 flash flyer, so worst case scenario, you get to flash in a flyer at instant speed, which is great. And best case scenario, you return one of your cards to your hand when you cast this. So returning one of your creatures in response to their removal spell is going to be a massive 2-for-1. That's always going to be a great time. So here we have a Dire Strain Rampage, destroy an artifact, enchantment, and land. Grab some lands. Yeah, this seems like not a limited card. Sacred Fire is great if we can splash that in, or if we end up not playing green, that will be excellent, whereas Celestial Sanctifier is just going to be okay. Even if we are the green-white humans deck, this is still going to be pretty filler. It does give us an ability whenever night switches to day, or day switches to night, but that ability is pretty mediocre unless you have a lot of ways to use the cards in your graveyard. A lot of flashback cards or disturb cards, so I'm just not a huge fan of that 3 mana 3/2 there. The Flare of Faith will probably be a pretty good combat trick in our deck with humans, but I think not anywhere near as good as Sacred Fire would be, just in case we get pushed into red-white here. We're going to try not to, but we could even play some Dawnheart Rejuvenators here. They are humans, and they'll let us just splash in that Sacred Fire. Maybe we can pick up an Evolving Wilds or two, and then we're still just green-white, but we get to splash in a great flashback removal spell. Seems like a good idea to me, so I'm going to grab a Dawnheart Rejuvenator here over not a ton else. There's a couple combat tricks here, and a decent one-drop creature in the Lunarch Veteran, but Rejuvenator to work with our Sacred Fire seems like a pretty good plan to me. I don't love Sungold Barrage, just because it's not very flexible as a removal spell. Doesn't kill everything you want it to kill, just the big stuff. Kind of want to just take a Timberland Guide here, pretty solid 2-drop, and it's a human. So it curves out nice and well, and it helps trigger Coven. Coven is the green-white ability that wants you to have 3 separate powers of creatures on your board. So you want like a 1-power creature, a 2-power creature, and a 3-power creature, for example. So the Timberland Guide's really flexible for that, because you can play it as a 2-2, or you can play it as a 1-1, making your other 2-2 a 3-3. You can really play around with your power toughnesses with this card, so it's just good in the color combination we're in. Here, it's pretty easy. We're just going to take the big old werewolf here that is a human during the day, so we'll work with our tribal stuff as well. Now we have, I guess that's one thing to consider. Every werewolf in green is also a human, so yeah, we should be all set on picking up plenty of humans throughout this draft. We're doing pretty good on our high mana cost cards here. We have a great 4-drop, great 5-drop already, so I think I'd rather take another somewhat cheap card here, Ritual Guardian. I like this better than the Sanctifier, just again, because I haven't had much success with that ability on that one, whereas this maybe getting lifelink could be relevant. Definitely like the Clarion Cathars here. This is excellent with Sigarda, because all of your humans getting +1/+1, that does count your tokens. So the human token getting +1/+1 means you're going to get a huge buff if you have Clarion Cathars and Sigarda on the board. Well, Triad's Revival is an okay card in any deck with some big bombs, and we have a Sigarda, so we have a big bomb to bring back from our grave, so pick up a Dryad's Revival there. Harvesttide Sentry's been decent. There's a lot of like 2-power creatures. It's unblockable by the creatures that you wouldn't want to block it. Like, you don't want this to trade into their little 1/1s or 2/2s, so the fact that when you have Coven it can't be blocked by them is pretty great. I'm going to take Flare of Faith over the Shadow Beast sighting just because that card has been very terrible against blue, so I really just never want that card when I'm running up against blue. Anyways, here I'm going to take Gavany Silversmith. This is another card that's excellent with Coven, just gives a lot of power and toughness for the mana cost in the first place. Just a card I like quite a bit. We'd love to wheel the Dawnheart Rejuvenator if possible to get some more mana fixing, but other than that, not missing much in this pack. There's a Duel for Dominance for some green removal, but it is a fight spell, so you are putting your creature in danger with it. It's not the greatest removal spell ever. We'll just grab the Gavany Silversmith, which I think is a pretty excellent 4-mana creature. Well, this might be taking Evolving Wilds really highly, but I am a pretty big fan of splashing in the Sacred Fire, and Evolving Wilds will help that happen a lot, and I don't think there's anything really good in our colors. I really am not a big fan of Candle Trap. Feels like a decent bit of work you have to put in for this to fully exile the creature, and there are a lot of creatures with important abilities on the board, where just giving it Defender isn't going to help too much, especially if we're on the aggressive, so I haven't loved Candle Trap. Howl of the Hunt is pretty filler, and Loyal Griff, pretty decent, but we already have 1 copy of it, so I'm not really hurting to find the second. I'm just going to grab an Evolving Wilds here. Now, I think I want to take Outland Liberator. Great main deckable artifact enchantment hate, similar to the Cathar Commando, where we can sacrifice it to destroy an artifact or enchantment. However, with this one, if we flip to nighttime, it's going to be a 2-mana 3/3 and destroy artifacts or enchantments just when it attacks. We don't even have to sacrifice it to do so. So Liberator, a bit better than the Commando in my opinion. Gavany Trapper is solid playable as well, but Liberator just seems pretty sweet. Now, Broodweaver is an excellent blocker, a 4-mana 2/4 reach, and then when it dies you get another 1/2 spider with reach. Seems pretty great. There's also an Eccentric Farmer. This can help splash a little bit, and it is a human, so that's kind of cool. But I think Broodweaver is just a super good deal. So I guess, I did say at the start we're probably going to draft humans super highly, but we actually haven't been. There just happen to be a lot of humans, so you don't have to draft that specifically for Sigarda. We have 9 humans in here already anyway, so we've kind of got plenty. A Pestilent Wolf, Flare of Faith. We already have 2 Flares of Faith or a Candlelit Cavalry. We have 1, 2, 3 2-mana creatures. I think I want a little more. Take a Pestilent Wolf here over the Cavalry. I kind of prefer the Tireless Hauler quite a bit. If we can pick up more copies of that, prefer that as our 5-mana card. Just really like the vigilance on it. Alright, well, I'm happy to get some more ways to splash in this Sacred Fire really easily. We are passing up on a Pestilent Wolf and Eccentric Farmer, but I'm not going to splash in a random red creature here. Unless it's like a really good red card. And Ruffian's just fine. Just solid stuff there, so I'm just going to take the Veil here, pass up on these, and make sure our mana base is really good. I'm always a fan of that. I like another Dawnheart Rejuvenator over the Path to the Festival here, because I think we do want a pretty high creature count in this deck rather than a sorcery that pulls out a land from the deck. Alternatively, we could get a Soul Guide Gryff for another flyer. That is an option, but Rejuvenator feels pretty sweet here, being a human, gaining some life, blocking really well, and grabbing that red mana. So now we have 2 Rejuvenators. I feel like we're doing really well there, and we're a little bit low on 2 mana creatures, so Pestilent Wolf here seems fine to me. Don't have a lot of 3 mana creatures either, but I ideally have like 5 2 mana creatures. You know, I guess we're only like 1 away from enough 2 mana creatures. We can grab an Eccentric Farmer here. It's also great with flashback cards. We only really have 1 flashback card, but it's a consideration there. We already have double Rejuvenator. Don't feel like I need more, and I don't love Bounding Wolf. We'll grab a Duel for Dominance, see if that card pans out well for us or not. And some more stuff I'm not sure about, but it gives us more options when we get to the deck building. Ardent Elemental is super late here. Excellent red card, but we have 5 instants and sorceries. We might be able to splash an Elementalist. I'm going to pick up an Elementalist. This card's just sick. We're really not the best color scheme for it, though. This is really, really good with red removal spells, because they usually cost 2 or 3 mana to do like 3 damage. And then you just like cast one on turn 2 or 3 to kill one of their creatures, then on turn 4 you play this to pick it up, then you kill another one of their creatures. Just a really good 2-for-1 every time. I really, really like that card. I guess I'll just take a million Flare Faiths. I've made the duress vanish again. Alright, so here we are in the final pack. And what shall we go with here? Geist Flame Reservoir, definitely much too slow, and red is our splash. Spellrune Painter's okay, but red is our splash. Yeah, none of these red cards are powerful enough for me to want to splash them, so I guess here's where we will finally take a Gavony Trapper, because there's really nothing else going on in green or white here. Kind of a dud of a pack for our main 2 colors, unfortunately. But Gavony Trapper's a card I've mentioned a few times, and we'll finally pull the trigger on that, get one of those in here. And here I'm very happy with Borrowed Time. We don't have a lot of removal here, and Borrowed Time is an excellent piece of removal. 3 mana to exile non-land permanent till it leaves the battlefield. I am sure you've played with a similar card in the past, between Banishing Light and Oblivion Ring, cards that do basically the same thing. And super, super happy with Dawnheart Wardens here, although we could splash in a Moonrager Slash as well. The Dawnheart Wardens is just sweet. 3 mana for a 3/3 Vigilance is already a great deal, and if you're triggering Coven, you're giving your whole field +1/+0 before combat on your turn, so really great on the aggressive starts. Plus it is a human, so really, really good stuff here. Now, wow, this pack is awesome. I want this whole pack. Mainly the uncommons. Every uncommon in this pack would be excellent in our deck. Hound Tamer's a 3/3 trample that for 4 mana we can put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, so it gives us a great mana sink. The Dawnheart Mentor is really good at triggering Coven and just a good deal for the mana cost. 3 mana for a 0/4 +a 1/1. And Audric's Outrider just gives us a ton of value as our creatures are dying. Just keep putting +1/+1 counters on our stuff as anything else dies. So I like all 3 of these a lot. It's going to be really hard to choose, but I think I'm going to go with Hound Tamer out of the 3. Really don't know if that's correct. I think all 3 of those are just excellent. And, well, you saw how much work we did to have some good mana fixing for splashing in that Sacred Fire, so why not 2? Por qué no los dos? And now we're in pick 6 here. See what we got. Kind of like another 1 mana card here, but we don't have a lot of like ways to sacrifice or anything, so The Veteran's not super great for this kind of deck. Definitely not a Rise of the Ants deck, I think. We just don't have any mana ramp or stuff. If you're ramping into big stuff and flashing back a lot, the Rise of Ants is awesome. But I don't think we're doing that here. I think I'll just take a Lunarch Veteran. Green-white dual land? Don't mind if I do. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We only have 4 2-mana creatures, but we have 2 1-mana creatures, so we're still playing plenty of creatures in the early game. To where I don't think I need to slam down the wolf. And again, not a huge fan of the Candle Trap, and we're doing okay on removal. I'm just going to grab the Great Mana Fixing here, the green-white duel for us. And Contortionist Troop is excellent. Oh, this pack, another pack that's just excellent for us. Contortionist Troop is really good at triggering Coven, because you can put it at whatever power toughness you want, and then in your end step you're putting another counter on your card, so it takes over the game. Clear Shot's just a brutally good removal spell. I think I'm going to take Clear Shot, because this can often be a 2-for-1. You're giving your creature +1/+1 at instant speed, which can make your creature win at combat, and then you're having your creature shoot one of your opponent's creatures, so yeah, you can decently often kill 2 of your opponent's creatures with this card. And even when you're only killing 1, it's a great removal spell, so I'm going to take that there. And here, I don't even know. I guess I'll take Path to the Festival, but probably not playing it. How many creatures do we have in this deck? We have 21 creatures, so we can run a creature-heavy deck to get the Death Bonnet Sprout flipping into the Death Bonnet Hulk. It is a super solid card when it does so. So I'm going to try out the Death Bonnet Sprout again. I have played this in one deck in the past, but I had a really fun time with it. That was in a mono-green deck that was super creature-heavy. But a 1-mana card that potentially becomes a 3/3 that keeps getting bigger seems good to me. It's kind of like the Green Delver of Secrets in terms of limited power level, not constructed power level, but in terms of limited power level, it's about that good. Well, I'm actually really happy to see another Tireless Hauler, because I was passing up on 5-mana cards, just being like, I'll just get another Tireless Hauler at some point and be happy with it. And then I never saw one, but here it is, Tireless Hauler. Now we've got the high mana costs all shored up. And we get to make some deck building decisions here. We have drafted a few lands, so we don't have to cut 14 cards here. We'll see. So we have 51 cards total, so we need to cut 11 cards, and that is with our lands in the deck. So 11 cuts for this deck. Probably going to cut the Ardent Elementalist, to be honest, because we're going to go pretty low on instant sorceries. Sure, we have 7 right now, but I'm highly considering cutting the Flare Face, definitely considering cutting the Duel for Dominance. Oh, I feel like we probably don't want Howl of the Hunt, we might not want Dryad's Revival. We definitely want Clear Shot and Borrowed Time. If we cut the Flares, we have 3, 4, 5, 6, that's 6 non-creatures, that'd be 6 non-creatures and 7 creatures. And only 4 instants or sorceries, which is very low for Ardent Elementalist. Yeah, I don't think we want to splash in an Elementalist here, as much as I love that card. Now, we cut 5 creatures, and I kind of want to cut to just a good aggressive curve here, cut some of our higher mana stuff. So we have Evolving Wilds, Rockfall Vale, and at least 1 mountain here, even if we don't have Dawnheart Rejuvenator. So I am slightly considering cutting these, because they don't seem necessary. We don't have anything that costs more than 5 mana, and we only have 2 cards that cost 5 mana, so they're basically only in here to hit the red mana that we need. They do gain life and block things, but that's the best part, is their mana fixing ability. So we could cut those. Could even cut the Eccentric Farmers, because we don't have a lot of flashback in here, just 2 Sacred Fires, so the mill doesn't really give us any value, but this does. Still, 3 mana, 2/3, draw a land is a decently good deal. I guess I like that better than the 3/2. I feel like I want to cut one of these 4 mana cards here. What's our weakest 4 mana card? Broodweaver makes the least sense because it's not a human, but it's a really good deal. 2/4 that replaces itself with that reach. So I really don't want to cut it. I guess I'll consider cutting the Farmers. I'll consider cutting probably Clarion Cathars being the weakest. This is the best with Sigarda, but by itself the weakest, I would say. It is good at triggering Coven, but so is the Silversmith. And the Captain's kind of a cheaper than 4 mana card. I guess I could consider cutting Broodweaver. It's just individually good value, but other than that, that's kind of it. It's kind of what it's doing in here. Definitely can cut Lunarch Veteran, but Trapper and Sprout we could keep in. We could still cut Trapper too. Card hasn't been incredibly impressive. It's been okay. Sure, just to make it easy, we'll cut a Trapper as well, and then we cut 3 more cards. I want to keep all the 2 mana cards in here. These 3 mana cards are all sweet. These 4 mana cards are all sweet, except maybe Broodweaver. Alright, so I think we're cutting 3 cards out of this pile here. Let's cut the Rejuvenators, and then we just need to cut 1 more card. Cut 1 Farmer, I suppose. I'm just trying to sort my cards. I'm not trying to cut these. I need to go ahead and bite the bullet and finally order a new mouse, but I always convince myself like it's not necessary. It's just an extra expense. I can just deal with it during the deck building, because during the draft and the gameplay, I found out how to make sure it doesn't screw me over or anything. But it is still annoying. My mouse does double click all the time, if you're wondering what I'm talking about. So this is the 17 creature build here. And this looks super solid to me. I suppose we could get some good value off the farmers if we just slap another farmer in here and slap in our reanimation spell, our Dryad's Revival. Not reanimation, but recursion to bring cards back from our grave. Go for a little bit of that kind of action in here. But I do just like our aggressive curve in general. Guess we could cut Duel for Dominance if we go for this build, and then we cut like the Ritual Guardian. And then this is like, we're using the Eccentric Farmers to actually potentially mill flashback cards, and even if we don't, maybe we draw a Dryad's Revival and pick up something we milled. Worst case scenario. Seems kind of sweet to me. Might be a bit slow here, but this deck looks pretty cool to me. Alright, so I think I'm going to call it like this. I'm going to go with Sigarda's Farmland here. We've got Overgrown Farmland, double Eccentric Farmer. We're doing a little bit of mulching, a little bit of farming here. Self-milling for some Sacred Fires, some Dryad's Revivals. We do have the Death Bonnet Sprout self-milling as well with our flashback cards. Yeah. I think I'm going to run it as is here. Do we want 4 red sources and Evolving Wilds? I don't think we do. We have 2 red cards, just the Sacred Fires, and we can wait. We can wait on those. We don't need to cast them immediately, so I definitely want to cut at least 1 red source. That's 4 red sources in this deck. Plus the Eccentric Farmers to dig a little for them. We have 5, 6, 7 green right now, 7 white. Let's get another forest in here. Call it a day. It's 8 green sources and 7 white sources. Seems good to me. Sigarda's Farm is off to the races. We'll see how we do in the gameplay. All right. So here we are in round 1. On the play here with our Outland Liberator turn 2. The earlier you play your werewolf cards, the most likely they are to flip, so I'm going to run that out turn 2, save the Timberland Guide for later. Because it's possible that our opponent just doesn't have a 2-mana card in hand, in which case we're living the dream. This will just flip on turn 2 and be a 2-mana 3/3 for us. They do have a 2-mana card. It is a Ghoulish Procession. But if this ever flips, it gets to destroy the procession just when it attacks. So we can even just not play Timberland Guide just so this can flip. And that might be okay. That being said, if they kill our Liberator, they will get a Decayed token out of it. Because this gives them a 2/2 zombie with Decayed whenever a creature dies. Once per turn. So I am just going to pass here. So we can try to blow up the procession with the Trap Breaker. And if it doesn't pan out, if they try to cast a removal spell on the Trap Breaker, we can still just sacrifice it to kill that in response. Alright, so Hobbling Zombie from our opponents. It's going to be a little weird here, but I'm going to cast our Exile removal spell that I could use on something much better, just to get this Death Toucher out of the way. Because that means our 3/3 can attack in freely. And blow that up, and we don't lose our 3/3 now. So it seems just like a great way to keep the aggression on here. Keep them off of their Decayed Zombie combos. Alright, we have the mana to cast Timberland Guide and Eccentric Farmer, so let's pre-combat cast this guide to get another damage in here. And post-combat, we'll send out the Farmer. See what we're digging for. Looks like a forest. No flashback cards. Suppose we did cast 2 spells in 1 turn, but we still got an equal amount of power toughness on the board by casting both of those, even if it did flip to a little less power here. Harvest-Tide Sentry's a great draw. It's going to be hard for them to block. Attack both, let them trade into our 3/3 here, I think, because it gets that blocker off the board for the rest of what we're doing. And we're going to keep casting spells, so this isn't going to turn into a 4/4 anytime soon. So they trade up into the 3/3 and we hit for 2. They're down to 9. And we're putting 5 more power on the board. They do get that Decayed Zombie out of the Hobbling Zombie, but Decayed Zombie tokens cannot block. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 power on the board. Not lethal here, but looking pretty good. They have a 3/4 to block with now. That is going to be pretty annoying. Does wall off our whole board here. That would block any creature we attack with well. They do exile a couple cards from our grave. So if we draw our recursion spell, we can't grab those again. Ooh, and Crawl from the Cellar as well. Going to put a counter on that 3/4, make it a 4/5 zombie. But Sigard is an excellent draw. Buff all the humans here. I don't think that makes attacking worth it, but we definitely cast Sigarda. And then maybe just attack with her next turn. If we attack all, they have a single blocker. They block here, take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's actually worth it. We put them to 2 life with this attack. I have changed my mind. Attacking is worth it here. They clear out the 3/4, they shut off our Coven. If they choose to go to 1 life instead, but I doubt they choose that. Yeah, clear out the 4/2 here. They're at 2 life with 1 blocker on the board, even if they clear out Sigarda. So they can play a Hobbling Zombie here. They have the 3 mana to do that. They did pick that up with their Crawl from the Cellar. Blade Stitch Scab, so they'll have 3 blockers, but nothing in the sky if they just play the zombie. Alright, nothing in the sky. That's lethal flying damage. They attack all here. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Not going to be lethal. We're not going to put Sigarda in any danger. And the good game comes on out. We're going to get there with that flying damage this turn. As the zombie army falls to pieces. We hit no humans in our top 5, unfortunately, but doesn't matter there. So 1 and 0 for the humans deck. Old Sigarda had a farm. I don't know. I'm amusing myself. I don't know. You're going to have to deal with it. This is Innistrad draft number 3 or 4 or something, so figure if you're around for this one, you know the deal by now. We're going to be a dork. Alright, so opponent is going first. We are playing against a mythic player here. We've got our Sigarda, we've got our Clear Shot, Dryad's Revival. This hand looks great. So Overgrown Farmland, this is a slow land. We play that late game to get it untapped. So we'll play the Death Bonnet Sprout turn 1 here then with our Forest. Alright. The Sprout has begun milling us, but has hit nothing important yet. Attack in for 1. Our opponent is on blue and green. A lot of flashback cards available in that color pair. Some werewolves in green, some bounce in blue. Could be like a tempo deck or a ramp deck. Lots of stuff you can do there. And the start is a Mysterious Tome. Definitely a tempo ramp kind of card there. 2 mana tap it, draw a card, and then 1 mana tap it to tap a permanent later on. So here, we're just going to play a land and attack for 1 past the turn, because we're not going to Dryad's Revival our planes here, of which we have 2 to choose from. 4 mana for our opponent, so they can tap that tome and have 2 mana up to do something else with. That is the play. Alright, I don't believe there's a counterspell for only 2 mana, so I think we're just going to cast Sigarda here. And most of the blue or green removal, either it's going to put Sigarda back into our hand, or it's going to require them to have a creature on the board to deal the damage. So I think Sigarda should be safe here. She might get thrown back into our hand or back on top of our library, but I don't think that she's going to get killed. Oh, Locked in the Cemetery will keep her tapped after she becomes tapped, but she's safe to attack once, and Borrowed Time can exile enchantments, so we can get rid of that there. So if we get Coven on our board, we will draw a card when she attacks here. So if we pick up our Hound Tamer, we'll have 3 separate powers on the board. However, we don't have the mana to pick up Hound Tamer and cast it. So I think more likely we just attack all and then Borrowed Time the Locked in the Cemetery. And I kind of want to Borrowed Time the Locked in the Cemetery just pre-combat in case they counter this with the 3 mana counterspell. If they counter this with the 3 mana counterspell, I'm going to want to wait to attack with Sigarda until we have 3 power toughness of creatures. Alright, so they don't have the counterspell. They're just going to tap Sigarda the 1 time here. We're going to get rid of Locked in the Cemetery. Send in with the 1/1. So next turn we can cast Dryad's Revival and cast our 3/3. And then Sigarda's Coven ability will trigger on the attack if they don't deal with her again here. Locked in the Cemetery, they have dealt with her again. Gavany Silversmith is the draw. Well, we're 1 creature engrave away from Death Bonnet Sprout flipping, so we could just go for Silversmith here instead of bringing the Hound Tamer out. Kind of into that. Yeah, I'm kind of into that. We do have some main deck Artifact Enchantment hate, not just Borrowed Time, but our Werewolf that can blow up artifacts and enchantments that we could draw into. So we still have ways to potentially use Sigarda later. We could draw our Outland Liberator, or our Loyal Griff will return Sigarda to our hand. So 2 ways to get use of Sigarda again, which is pretty sweet. Contortionist Troop. They do not have Coven. They do have 1 mana up to use the Chilling Chronicle when we go to combat here. But we can Clear Shot to kill the troop. Could Clear Shot with Sigarda. She doesn't have lifelink, does she? She does not have lifelink, so no reason to use her. Yeah, we get 1 extra damage if we use one of our other creatures here. So we'll just Clear Shot with Silversmith, I guess. That way if they have an Unsummon, they throw Silversmith back in hand. I guess if we're playing around Unsummon, we should use this on Sigarda. Yeah, I should have used this on Sigarda. It's 1 extra damage, potentially, but they just tap whichever one it is, so it's not actually 1 extra damage. I wasn't thinking of that. We should have still used Sigarda for the Clear Shot, because then the only way they counter the Clear Shot is by bouncing Sigarda to our hand. There is a 1 mana way to return a creature to somebody's hand in this format, so that could have worked out poorly for us if they had that card. I think I want to just pick up... I actually might want to pick up Sigarda's Splendor here. I mean, this is the time we just get aggressive, though, right? We don't need draw spells, so just pick up a Clear Shot or a creature. Either of those seeming excellent here. The Hound Tamer being the best one because it gives us the mana sink with all the mana we have. So Hound Tamer or Clear Shot. I think we pick up the Clear Shot, keep this board nice and clear. We can pick something else up with the Revival next turn. Although I suppose, I wasn't thinking about the flashback. Yet again, another line not super ideal. We could just pick up a creature here, and then if we need the Clear Shot, we can spend 5 mana to pick up Clear Shot and 3 mana to cast it this turn. Because we'll have 5 mana here, 3 mana with these 3 lands. We have enough mana to return plus cast a thing here. Alright, attack both. We could Clear Shot on nothing, and this would be lethal, but I don't want to play into getting wrecked by a bounce spell here. Just going to let 9 damage come in, and they do just show us the removal immediately. Oh, I guess we can't Clear Shot on our own creature. Yeah, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control, so you can't cast this. I was going to say we could maybe cast this on like Silversmith and shoot Sigarda. And then we could pick up Sigarda with Revival, and we'd have 10 damage coming in, but it looks like we can't do that. So, play our farmer here, see what we mill. A bunch of land, grab an Evolving Wilds, I guess, to thin the deck. Kind of like Hound Tamer the best here. Actually, no, Loyal Griff. What am I on about? Loyal Griff because we pick up Sigarda. Did we mill the Loyal Griff with the Eccentric Farmer, or was that there the whole time? I'll have to look back on that one. If that was there the whole time, I straight missed it, but if that got milled by the Farmer, then that was a very good sequencing, just giving us the opportunity to hit the Loyal Griff there. Alright. They're at 6 life, 3 cards in hand. They do get to tap a card with the Chilling Chronicle here. So we definitely don't have lethal here. Do something while we're tapped out. They're going to Defenestrate while we're tapped out. That way they get a card draw off the Morbid Opportunist. Guaranteed. So I can't just use Loyal Griff to bounce whatever they try to blow up here. So, I'm going to try to Clear Shot the Opportunist. Going to use it on the Farmer here for 1 more damage, because we're going to pick up Sigarda with Loyal Griff anyway. I suppose, I mean, they're going to tap down the Farmer, so it's not actually 1 extra damage, but I did it again. The same little mistake I made last time, where it's like, yeah, 1 extra damage. It's not actually. So yeah, we get to cast the Liberator and a Loyal Griff here. So, cast the Liberator. We can use it to blow up their annoying thing if we want to, but I'd rather cast the Loyal Griff for the 3 to get Sigarda back. So, we're holding up this mana to flash in the Loyal Griff, return Sigarda to our hand. So the Mysterious Tome draws another card. They have 5 cards in hand, one of which is a land, so 4 left to go. We have lethal damage on the board, and Organ Hoarder is the play. Looks at the top 3 cards of their library, puts the best one into their hand and the rest into their graveyard. Two Disturb cards sending to the graveyard so they can recast these. They can get a 2/2 flyer and a 1/2 flyer to block with. So quite a good deal on the Organ Hoarder. They drew a card plus drew 2 Disturb cards to their grave. Alright, so the end step here, we're going to go ahead and pick up Sigarda. I guess they have 2 mana up. If they have 2 mana removal here, their deck is sweet. If they have the Infernal Grasp, they would take 2 damage if they cast it here. Which means they'd be at 4 life. It's not the end of the world. Duel for Dominance is what they have, so they can't get rid of Sigarda. They can fight our 3/3, I guess. Alright, Tireless Hauler's the draw. That's pretty sweet. Do we have enough mana for both? 6/9? We do. Alright, so easy. Just Sigarda pre-combat, so Farmer does more damage. Attack in, then cast Hauler. Go to 1 life here. Here's Tireless Hauler. Falcon Abomination, so that's 2 blockers. Another Falcon Abomination, that's 3 blockers. They can tap something down with the Chilling Chronicle. So they can block everything here. Gives them another turn. Dawnheart Wardens give the whole field +1/+0 when we enter combat because of Coven. I'll take it. They kind of have to tap down Sigarda here, I feel like, because she has Trample. They'd have to multi-block her to stop all of her damage. As much as I think they would want to double block her to trade, I feel like it's very likely they have to. Well, this is really suspicious. So they're at 1 life with 3 blockers against this board. So they double block Sigarda with 2 2/2 flyers. Block our 3/2 flyer with a 1/2 flyer and blow up Eccentric Farmer somehow? Do they Corpse Cobble here? They have 1 card in their hand. They Corpse Cobble here to sacrifice 2 zombies, get a 4/4. That would just trade with our Eccentric Farmers. That's fine. I mean, we definitely make them have it regardless. I don't know what they have here. Plus, of course, Sigarda draws us cards, which is bonkers. Alright, what do they have here? Just a removal spell to kill Sigarda? Blocking everything? Okay, nothing. Alright, they got me all kinds of scared here. I guess even if they did the double block to kill Sigarda, she still tramples over for 1 from the Dawnheart Wardens. Alright. So 2-0 it'll be. Heading into round 3 here. Definitely took some not ideal lines in the last game, but we had so much value going from the start with our Death Bonnet Sprout with our double recursion spell. That was just really nice. Here, we're on the play. We're the kind of deck that wants to curve out really well. I'm actually going to mulligan here. Alright, this is better. We grab a green source from our Evolving Wilds. And we just get rid of this Sacred Fire because we're not going to have a red source for a while. Curve doesn't start till turn 3. Okay, never mind. I was going to say our curve doesn't start till turn 3, but that seems to be the only big issue I see with this hand. Otherwise, this looks pretty excellent. So Timberland Guide from our opponent has a 2-mana 2/2 to block our Outland Liberator. We could clear shot and just get bashing in here, but I'd rather just play a big attacker here, a 3/3 Trampler. 3 mana from our opponent, mono green so far. Harvest-Tide Sentry's the play for this turn. We're 1 mana away from Sigarda here, which is excellent. Could attack with Hound Tamer. They have 1 green mana up, so this is an incredibly safe attack. We might get a 2-for-1 with Clear Shot, and we certainly do. This is exactly what I was talking about, where Clear Shot's such an excellent removal spell, because you're often killing 2 creatures with the 1 card in a position like that. Fantastic work from Clear Shot there. Shadow Beast Sighting, get a 4/4. Alright, and Sigarda is coming on out. Could trade with their 4/4 with our Hound Tamer, but I really like its activated ability, putting +1/+1 counters on cards, especially because we can do that at instant speed to win combat like we did with the Clear Shot +1/+1. So a Morning Patrol from our opponent and a Pestilent Wolf, so they are setting up the blockers on the ground to try to stop all of our threats here. So they don't have the mana to give Death Touch with the Wolf here. So if we attack with Hound Tamer, they block it with a 4/4 and a 2/3. I can put a counter on Hound Tamer to make it a 5/5, but we'd still trade with one of those two. So I still don't like our attacks on ground. So I think we just attack with Sigarda, draw a card off the Search Party Captain here. Although, it might be better to dig 3 cards deep and try to hit a land for Tireless Hauler. I guess no matter what, we get Evolving Wilds. Yeah, we're actually going to play Eccentric Farmer here, because it guarantees a Tireless Hauler next turn. Grab the Evolving Wilds, because I don't believe I've played a land this turn. Yeah, so that we can get our red source here. Unnatural Growth, alright. You love to see it. We can blow that up if we want to, but if they start attacking with creatures, that's less blockers for them, so I'm pretty happy with that. Probably should have blown it up pre-combat, because I am going to blow it up before we attack. Yeah, all in all, I'd call that a misplay. We're just going to take 4 extra damage here and blow it up right now. Should have blown it up before they went to the combat step. Ooh, Sacred Fire. Get rid of Pestilent Wolf. Not bad at all. We'll have the mana to hold that up after attacking with Sigarda, because Search Party Captain will cost 3 mana instead. We could even attack with Hound Tamer. They don't have the Death Touch mana here. They have 4 power, so we put a counter on Hound Tamer and win that combat if they block that way. Actually, with Sacred Fire, we could attack all 3. I think that looks super suspicious. I guess it doesn't really matter how suspicious it looks when it's a great attack for us, regardless of how they play around it. So, Search Party Captain or Sacred Fire. Sacred Fire deals damage to them as well. Kind of like going wide here with the Search Party Captain. As long as our board is wider than theirs, then we'll win this game, because we can put them to 3 life with Sacred Fire. Any one of these creatures hits them for 3. So as long as a single creature gets through, they're dead here. Alright, and they scoop them up. So the plan there, if they didn't scoop them up, was to shoot the wolf to get 1 blocker out of the way, then we have 4 attackers against 2 blockers, and then just flashback Sacred Fire next turn to do 2 damage to them. But looks like we already had it pretty in the bag just with Sigarda. Sigarda just really taking names here. Sigarda has been an incredible rare for us, and we are 3-0 to start this draft off. Alright, round 4 with an excellent mana base in this hand. Definitely going to keep it. Grab our red source turn 1 here. With the overgrown farmland, we are ready to cast any green or white spells. So turn 2, Start with the natural 3-1 or the potential flip 3-1. I still think I like the flip 3-1 better because we've seen if they don't get to play a card turn 2, just being able to flip early is so nice. All right, and here I like just killing Scab Wrangler. That card is just very annoying. But then they might trade here. Yeah, they might trade here. Looks like a decent way to kill it. We can save Sacred Fire for later. I'm surprised by the trade, but happy with it nonetheless. Scab Wrangler's pretty ridiculous with the decayed tokens that blue-black can get, and I'm assuming they're getting one right now by countering Silversmith. Certainly are. Organ Hoarder is the play. Look at the top 3, 1 into hand and the rest into the graveyard. Just a couple swamps in the grave. Dawnheart Wardens is the draw. Pretty sweet. Just put this on the board and pass the turn here, or do we Sacred Fire the Hoarder to get in for 3, put them to 14? I think we still want to set up our board state. Five mana for our opponent now, and a Siege Zombie is the play. Another fantastic way to use the decayed zombies to keep draining us from life. Now we have double Sacred Fire. Okay, well now we definitely want to just get a Siege Zombie off the board. I think we offer the trade for the Organ Hoarder maybe. I guess if we hit 2 more lands we can just Sacred Fire it away, so maybe we don't. Feels really awkward to play this game slow, but I guess that's what we're doing here. Like, just pass the turn and get ready to Sacred Fire these 2 toughness cards away. We'll do it at their end step, just in case they tap out and don't have that 3 mana for their flip the switch up again, but looks like they're just going to hold up flip the switch all day long if they have another one. These decks tend to run a lot of if they can. Alright, no flip the switch. We'll clear out that Siege Zombie and gain the life that it took from us right back. And I guess we'll clear out the Organ Hoarder as well, so we get in for 6 here. Now, blue-black do have ways to exile our flashback cards from our grave. We'd definitely be sad about that. They'd be a much worse deal if we don't get to cast 2 copies of them. But even just the 1 copy's put in some good work if this Sacred Fire resolves here and we get in for 6. Another flip the switch. Alright. Well, if I attack with 2 creatures here, I do get to cast Search Party Captain and draw a card. And I'm really trying to hit my 5th, 6th mana here. You know, I'm actually going to trade our Dawnheart Wardens down into this 3-2 at this point so we can cast Search Party Captain and hit our land drops. Alright, well, not a land drop, but Eccentric Farmer does get us there. Mills 3 and lets us pick a land out of the grave. No matter what, we get at least Evolving Wilds. Morbid Opportunist, a massive deal. Mythic rare uncommon here for sure. Whenever a creature dies, they get to draw a card only once per turn, but with decayed zombies, it's incredibly easy for this to just mean they draw a card every single one of their turns, and anytime they draw a removal spell to deal with one of our cards, it just turns into a really good deal. So they would just slam down a Defenestrate on our 3-1 or 2-2 just to get the card draw during our turn as well. So we do hit the 5th land now, so we can cast Tireless Hauler instead of the Eccentric Farmer. I'm definitely a fan of that. I think we attack with the Sentry, offer the trade with the Opportunist. We might as well attack with both, I guess. Because, like, sure, they block the 2-2, but then the 3 damage gets in. We attack with both just in case they actually want to take the trade with the 3-1. But it looks like they don't. Defenestrate on the 3-1. We can actually counter that to keep them from drawing a card here and keep our Sentry around, instead of playing a big 4-5. against black, they're likely to draw another removal spell to use on it, especially if they get the card draw here. So we're actually going to Loyal Grift to pick up Harvesttide Sentry. That way they don't draw the extra card this turn, and Defenestrate does nothing. We just put this right back on the board. Feels like a better use of our turn than getting the 4/5 Vigilance out, just because it shuts off our opponent's plan there. So they're drawing another card here, 5 cards in hand after this. Definitely in the think tank here, deciding what to do. Graveyard Trespasser is the play. If we want to target that, we have to discard a card to do so when it comes into play, or attacks, they exile a card from our grave. Fortunately, really good main deckable graveyard hate here. Yeah, so that thing's just going to shred our other Sacred Fire from our grave, unless we exile it with Borrowed Time. But if we exile that with Borrowed Time, we don't get to exile the Morbid Opportunist. Stuck between a rock and a hard place here. Don't like either of these options particularly well. But I'm pretty sure the play is going to be Borrowed Time here on something. Guess we could just cast Tireless Hauler. It doesn't have Menace or anything, so it's not actually going to attack if we have good creatures to block it. And it's not like our Sacred Fire can kill anything on their board right now anyway. They're all 3 toughness, so I guess we could play a Tireless Hauler or exile Morbid Opportunist here. But it looks like creatures have stopped dying now too. They don't have any decayed zombies here, so attack in the sky. And then Tireless Hauler actually sequenced that wrong. We would have hit Coven if we had Tireless Hauler out. And then the only creature that could block the Harvesttide Sentry would be the Graveyard Trespasser. So then it actually would be worth attacking with the Sentry. So I should have just played Tireless Hauler main phase 1 and attacked with Sentry as well, offered the trade with the Trespasser. It would still be a pretty good deal for our opponent. They would trade their 3/3 into our 3/1, but they draw a card from Morbid Opportunist. So I don't think we missed out a lot, because our opponent would be happy either way, I'm pretty sure. But I think I'd be happier getting that Trespasser off the board. Just make me feel comfy about my Sacred Fire, especially now that they have a Scab Wrangler to get rid of as soon as we draw land for the Sacred Fire. So we're still hitting in the sky for 2 every turn, which is pretty good. Maybe we hold on to Borrowed Time just to clear out flyers. Could clear out the Death Toucher to get in with our Vigilant creature, but we can also do that with Sacred Fire if we hit 1 more land. We can just play Cathars or Eccentric Farmer here. So do we want to attack with the Sentry here? Yeah, now that they have the Wrangler for the Sacred Fire, I really want to get rid of the Trespasser. I don't want them to just draw Defenestrate and shoot our Tireless Hauler and then attack with Trespasser. That would be super bad. Let's attack with both here. Really doubt they don't take this trade because of the Opportunist. Okay, but I was going to say, if they don't take this trade, I'm pretty fine with that too. Because we put them down to 7 that way. So here's our Eccentric Farmer. What do we got? We do have the lands we need. We'll grab an Evolving Wilds to thin the deck. Grab another green source, I suppose. So the Scab Wrangler taps down the Hauler. Oh, yeah, I guess I wasn't considering the Scab Wrangler here. They can shut off the Sacred Fire. But then they're at 7 and like their whole board is tapped. Alright, 1-for-1 trade. Trade down into our 2-3. Unless they have another spell here. Alright, no other spells, so we do clear that off the board. They do draw a card from it. We have 5 unblockable damage here. 2 from flying, 3 from the creature that can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. They do have the Scab Wrangler, and that is going to stick around now that our removal is gone. Do we exile the Opportunist, exile the Scab Wrangler? Do we exile nothing and just play another creature? If we cast Borrowed Time to exile the Death Toucher, they'll probably choose to tap the 6/6 here, and then we just guaranteed get in for 5. Feels pretty good to me. If we're exiling nothing here, if we just go to combat, they're going to tap down the Harvesttide Sentry. We do get in for 2 and then play more creatures, which also feels okay to me. But I like going for 5 damage this turn. Let's get the Borrowed Time out here. I suppose if the Dire Strain... You know what? Maybe we aren't getting rid of the Death Toucher, because if the Brawler attacks in, even if they don't have the Death Toucher, they just block with this, and then they get a 3/4 back, and they mill themselves. So they could potentially hit another Disturb or Flashback card. So get rid of the Scab Wrangler or the Opportunist, I think, still. I think we're actually going to get rid of the Wrangler. So they do tap the Sentry. So the fact that they didn't want to trade their 3/3 off early means that we straight up just lost out on... Oh, well, that's brutal. Flash Flyer here. We lost out on 3 damage earlier, and that could really matter here because they're down to 5. So if we lose this one, it's possible we cost it for our own actions. God, yeah, that Storm Rider Spirit is super brutal here. Clear out the Loyal Grift, draw a card. Excellent, excellent draw from our opponent. Well, our Harvesttide Sentry trades into that, I guess. Still can't be blocked by all the 2 toughness creatures here. Long Wilds for their land. Gale Drifter, another 3-power creature. This one that can come back from the grave. It's also another flyer to attack us with. Well, gonna get a Brood Weaver out here at least, and Death Bonnet Sprout's gonna be really good if it sticks around. I don't think we're attacking here. The Brawler just trades for the Zombie. Sure, we get the Death Toucher out of the way for the future, but it still feels bad. And the Sentry doesn't attack in because it just trades for Gale Drifter, which just comes back from the grave, and they draw a card from Opportunist. Just pass. Death Bonnet Sprout doesn't exile cards until our upkeep after it's flipped, so it's going to be quite a while before we can exile creatures from their grave, so we can't really stop their Disturb cards from going off here. Alright. Flip the Hulk. Hound Tamer's a sweet draw. We do need another mana to start throwing counters on stuff if we want to throw counters the turn we play it. I think we still just play it this turn. They draw Flip the Switch and Diagraph Ward here. Okay. That works. Pass the turn. Well, we might be on the mill plan now. If they don't have Devious Cover Up, they're down to 12 cards in library. They're going to draw a card off the zombie here. If they Blade Brand my Tireless Hauler, I'm not that sad. Because it's very much not attacking on this board state, so we'll just use that to stop the damage. So Death Bonnet Hulk, gonna go ahead and exile a creature from their graveyard here to get a counter on it, and Sigarda is the draw. Big old flyer, they'd have to double block it. They'd take no damage on the block though, but it's something. Definitely not quite lethal. Guess we play Cathars first. It's much more power and toughness once we get Sigarda out, and we've seen they're playing a million flip the switches. So just give them as many opportunities as possible to counter the wrong card. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 creatures that could attack next turn. They have 6 creatures that could block. We're getting somewhat close to enough creatures to just jam in with everything for lethal. We're not there yet, though. I believe we are just passing. Kill the Broodweaver. We get a replacement 1/2 here. They could start attacking in with their flyers again. So we only have a 1/2 to block what they attack with both. If they attack with both, they might lower their blockers enough for us to just find lethal here. Silver Bolt to shoot our werewolf. Alright, I'm happy they didn't shoot it immediately, because if they shot it immediately, they would... then that would present them having 2 removal spells. It could be they just misplayed, but since no creatures died that turn, I would expect that... oh wait, no. Did the spider die during their turn or our turn? I feel like this died during our turn, but I could be wrong. If this died during our turn, then they would want to Silverbolt during their turn to get another card off Opportunist, or maybe they're specifically trying not to because they have 9 cards in library. Either way, Dryad Survival's a big draw. Bring things back from the grave. Nothing super sick in our grave right now, so I guess we cast Sigarda, and if Sigarda doesn't resolve, we revive it. They have 1, 2, 3, 4 blockers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 attackers. 3 things get in for at least 2 damage apiece, right? Actually, no, they shoot the Brawler, so we don't get lethal here, I think. Alright, they don't have anything to shoot Sigarda. I'm pretty sure we don't have lethal here. Because, let's see. This gets shot, this gets blocked, this gets blocked. So that's these 3 down, and they have 2 1/3s after that. So 2 1/3s after that, block there, they take 3, go to 2 life. We're at 8, we can block 1 flyer, take 1, 2, 3. The Decayed tokens finish us off. So if we don't have lethal here, we die on the crackback from them. So... oh, good lord. So what do we do here? We need to hold up blockers for Decayed Zombies. Do we just attack with the beef? Get rid of the Death Toucher, the Silverbolt here? This trades for Horde, this trades for Death Toucher, this trades for Silverbolt. Start getting some stuff out of the way. Or do we just pass even? I feel like we don't just pass because we're taking flying damage. We do have a 1/2 reach to block with, so we could block with a 1/2 reach and a Sigarda for the flyers, but we do have to worry about the lethal crackback. Oh, I wish I knew the correct attacks here because this is going to be a big one. So assuming they have nothing in hand, they shoot Brawler, trade for Sentry, trade for Hulk, but then they still have 3 Decayed Zombies. 3/3 gets chumped, 4/4 gets chumped. 2/2... 2/2 and the 1 power creature get through, so we get in for 3 damage. They're at 2 life. However, after that, see that it goes chump, chump, chump. Or, I'm sorry, chump, chump, trade, trade. This is decayed, decayed, decayed. They have 3 2/2s, 2 3/3 flyers. So this attacks gets blocked. This attacks get blocked. 3 2/2s. We take 6. They have to have another removal spell in hand to find lethal on us, right? They have to have another removal spell in hand for them to turn this to a lethal crackback. Okay, well, that does it. They had the bounce for Sigarda, we're out either way. Sad game there. Sad game there. Definitely some mistakes throughout the game that I think cost us it as a whole. Well, that feels bad. Especially because that's kind of like... That's one of the most juiced decks in the format. Mainly just the Morbid Opportunist being super juiced. They drew so many cards, they were at threat of milling out that game. So to get that close against a bunch of card advantage like that feels really bad. To lose at the end due to just mistakes, misplays. Rough game there. But we're still 3-1. No matter what happens here, we'll get at least an average record out of this deck. It's one of our most awkward hands here, but it's got our 2 main colors and 2 mana, so I kept it. We've got the 3rd mana now, but we're not playing anything till turn 4. Kind of what's going on with the awkward hand here. Well, our Sacred Fire will be great against that if we hit our red source later on. For now, we can just play a 2/4 to block it really well. Ooh, Augur of Autumn is a very good card. So the Augur of Autumn is a 2/3. They can look at the top card of their library at any time, and they can play lands from the top of their library. So it's going to draw them cards just straight up face value. But if they get Coven, it's going to be an insurmountable amount of value, because then they can draw creatures off the top of their library as well. That's where that card just goes off and takes over the game. Already, just casting the lands from the top, it makes sure they don't get flooded out, because every land they hit, they're skipping that draw and drawing the next card instead. So, super good card. Alright, do whatever weird combat trick you're going to do. I'm still going to get a 1/2 out of this, and then the 1/2 can trade into the 3/1. So the fact that Broodweaver replaces itself when it dies makes me very happy to just trade it off for their combat trick here. Alright, Sigarda's Splendor's the draw. Definitely not good in this position. So I think we just play a Search Party Captain. We could play a Death Bonnet Sprout and revive our Weaver, but that seems kind of dumb. Seems kind of dorky. Let's just play our Search Party Captain. And a Loyal Griff is the draw. They don't have Coven yet. They need a 1-power or a 4-power creature, something like that, to trigger Coven and start casting creatures. But again, card's going to give them great value either way. So 5th land for turn, no land on top of their library here then. Broodweaver is their play for the turn. And just attack with the 2/2 so we can trade 2/2s here. Don't really want to, because this helps us like double block the Augur of Autumn. It keeps other things from attacking other than just the 2/2, so I'm just going to take 2 here. We have 5 mana now. We can cast our big old 4/5. Or we can play Splendor and Death Bonnet Sprout. And do everything we can to just preserve our life total here. Possible that works out well, but I feel like I still want to turtle up more before I get Sigarda's Splendor out. If I just go Splendor, Death Bonnet Sprout, they can still attack in well. A 1/2, a 2/2, and a 1/1 Sure, we can like double block and get the Augur maybe, and we get the Commando, but we take like 4. Splendor's drawing us no cards. Our board gets cleared in the trades, so we'll just play a big blocker here. Another land from the Augur of Autumn. And Sun Gold Barrage to clear out our large creature. Here comes the squad. Well, we're going to get got if they have a combat trick here, because I'm going to double block the Augur. On board, it kills a 2-2, so our 2-2 trades up into a really good creature there. Alright, so they don't attack in with it again, so we can take 4, or we can trade with the Captain. Again, if we trade with the Captain, we're not threatening enough power toughness to trade with the Augur of Autumn. Unless we cast more creatures, which could very well just die like our last turn creature did. Oh, at 13 here, we probably have to highly consider just trading at this point. Yeah. If we were going to end up trading anyway, we probably should have traded last turn. But I guess if we traded last turn, like they blow up our 4-5, we have a single 1-2 on board, so the whole board's attacking. I guess Commando isn't, but that's just attacking 2 now. We would take just as much damage either way. Let's play Silversmith and Death Bonnet Sprout. Yeah, I like that. I like putting the counters here because the Sprout is going to flip, which means it's going to be a 3-3 next turn, so this spreads our power and toughnesses as evenly as possible for multiple good blockers. Loyal Griff from our opponent, assuming just as an attacker here, and yep, that is the case. So very happy to have a 2-3 with reach to block that. Four mana from our opponent. What do we see? Alright, untapping it all, they have changed their mind. A Timberland Guide it is that turns on Coven. Makes sense that they changed their mind because it turns on Coven and the Loyal Griff gets to get in. So now they're casting creatures off the top of their library, the Loyal Griff's attacking in, and Augur of Autumn's absolutely going off. They hit a creature on top, so that's a draw card right there. They hit a land right after, another card draw. Haven't tallied it up here, but I'm pretty sure this card's drawn them at least 5 cards on its lonesome. They've hit 3 lands and a creature now. I guess it's drawn them 4 cards, I think. It's at least that much. So let's flip our Death Bonnet Sprout here and start exiling some stuff from graveyards later. Not sure there's going to be a later, but potentially. We have 5 mana. Play Sigarda's Splendor and just keep getting hit by the Griff. Could just cast our own Griff and double block. The rest of our board, like they can just attack around everything else. The Trapper taps down the Reach creature, so we actually don't get the double block off. I guess maybe the Trapper taps down the 3-4, because the Reach creature already doesn't block the Griff well, so I guess we'll see. I feel like it's our only hope here. And then it's not great, but getting the flyer off the board means they're less likely to be chipping in for damage. Candlelit Cavalry helps that a bunch as a giant trampler. Okay, so they chose to tap nothing down with the Gavany Trapper, which means we can't go for the double block. Because if we cast the Griff, they'll just tap one of our flyers down. But the Griff's our only play here, so we cast it anyway. Maybe they'll punt. Highly doubt it, being Mythic 110 here. I assume they just tap before blocks. Oh, well, that might mean a combat trick from our opponent. Instead, or a removal spell. Either works. Alright, removal spell it is. All of the gas. There's the red source for the Sacred Fire. We've got 5 mana to play around with. All we can really afford to do is play a blocker here. Dryad's Revival with 2 mana up. Can't replay any of these. So, yeah, Eccentric Farmer it is then. At this point, I'll just grab an untapped land for next turn. We could need 7 mana. We could cast Splendor and Revival, or we could play Revival and a 4 mana card. So Candle Trap with Coven to exile our Hulk. Means 2 viable blockers here, 1 which gets tapped, and that is dead on board with that 5 power trample here easily. We can stop more damage by blocking the 3/3, but that's all we got. Brutal game there. The definite card of the game, in my opinion, is the Augur of Autumn there. By the end of it, definitely drew at least 6 cards because they drew another card or 2 on those last couple turns. Brutal stuff overall. So 3-2 it is. That is the kind of fierce competition you can expect being paired into the mythic ranks. So we are playing against some sweet decks today, some equally sweet decks to what we're doing, if not a bit better. So, fair enough to get some losses in here and there. 3-2. At least going to be 3-3 here, so not going to be a negative record. But see if I can't get a 4-3. 4-3 is always where I start to get happy. 4-3 or better. Get those positive win rates, get the amount of gems we need to break even or better. Yeah, this hand's really awkward. We've drawn every red source in our deck. I guess not the Evolving Wilds, but every natural red source, all 3 of them. We really need the white source, but I guess we're playing a Liberator turn 2, Tamer turn 3. It's not the end of the world. And our opponent will probably think we're like green-red werewolves, which I don't know if that's a benefit, but it'd be interesting. They could think we are. Well, there's the white source, so I guess never mind. Now they know we're Naya. I was about to say, am I getting 1 mana counterspelled here? Just getting flashbacks to that game where my opponent cast like 4 flip the switches on me and my will to live slowly drained from me. Alright, Immolation to clear out our 2/2 right quick. Well, let's get a Hound Tamer or Dawnheart Wardens. Dawnheart Wardens is going to be better later. Plus Vigilance is nice, but Hound Tamer could flip if they do nothing, so it's possible Hound Tamer just goes bonkers here. Alright. Well, happy with my choice then. Hound Tamer is going to hit for 4. And we're not going to have Coven if we cast Dawnheart Wardens, so we'll just play Cathars first. And if we hit another green source, we could cast Wardens and Timberland Guide this turn, or this coming turn. So just have a flip the switch to counter the Cathars. Not super worried there. And a 2/2 and a 1/3 from our opponent, playing the blue-red spells deck. 2/2 and a 1/3, of course, enough to flip things back to Dayside, though. That is 2 spells cast in 1 turn. So discard a land to draw a card as well with their card's ability. And we do get to get Coven here with Dawnheart Wardens plus Timberland Guide. Yep, so let's go for it. Get a lot of damage in here. They have 3 power, so we throw a counter onto the Tamer, we tack in for 5. Super sweet. So they are down to 11 now. We do have Dryad's Revival to bring back Liberator. We have enough mana to cast both next turn. So that could be pretty good. Alright. Loyal Gryph here is an option. We've got Hound Tamer's ability to put a +1/+1 counter somewhere. That's also an option. So, Geist Wave to throw Hound Tamer back to our hand. I think we just want to replay it then. Not go for the Revival and the 2-drop or anything here. Yeah, resolves. Just gonna recast Hound Tamer this turn then. No attacks. It does shut off our Coven, because now we only have 3s and 1s. Seize the Storm from our opponent. Oh, that's going to be big. 5/5. So they get a creature with power toughness equal to the number of instants and sorceries in their graveyard and in exile. So they get a 5/5 there and attack in for 3. Well then. Yeah, this is not looking up here. Things got bad real fast. They can flash that back as well for 7 mana? Yeah, 7 mana, flash it back. Ooh, that card is brutal. They're 2 mana away from flashing it back, so we just really have to deal with this 1/5/5. But as it stands, we don't have a way to do that. I guess we can put a counter on Hound Tamer and attack with it, but then we just trade, which is not a good deal. Could put a counter on Dawnheart Wardens and attack with that and trade, also not a good deal, but I think a little bit better than the deal otherwise. Hound Tamer will flip if we do that. Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's get the flip here. Take the trade. They're 2 mana away from getting another one out of it. There's the 6th mana. 1 mana away now from getting another. Except the Ardent Elementalist, Premier Red Common here, going to put it right back in hand. So they get another one next turn, and then another one the turn after that. They're just going to have a million of them. So we definitely attack with Untamed Pup here, because it's just going to get walled off by the Seize the Storm as they play bigger cards. Let's see if we at least get to clear some stuff off their board. Alright, we do get to clear some stuff off their board. Clear the 2/2 and 2/1 off for just making way for the rest of our board. Probably trying to get in there with flyers here. Their Loyal Gryph. So, kind of like Harvesttide Sentry. And then flash in Loyal Gryph next turn, bringing back Timberland Guide to hand so we can put another counter on our Loyal Gryph. But I don't think we search Party Captain here, because I think we want to get a flyer out and get it attacking as quickly as possible, because we need to outrace their just horde of 5/5s that are going to come in pretty soon. So there's the Seize the Storm. Send in the Decayed Zombie. Sure. We might as well block, because we're bouncing that to hand anyway. Stop that damage. Alright. Tireless Hauler's big. Tireless Hauler during the night. Big enough to beat that 5/5. So we might just cast that here. It is the night right now. Yeah, so if we don't cast 2 spells, it's going to stay nighttime. And this will be a 6/6 Vigilance, bigger than the 5/5. Yeah, I'm on it. I am interested in that. Neonate's Rush, clear out our 3/1, and they draw a card. Pretty good deal there. That does make that a 6/6 now, unfortunately. This is even better than I thought. I thought it was that it checks when you cast the spell how big it is, but it just checks at all times statically on the token. Good lord. I wanna play this card. This card's sick. Seize the Storm. Good god. So what do we do here? We don't have another white source to cast Sigarda, but Sigarda would be huge. Do we have any way to get their flyer out of the way? We certainly do not. Even with the Dryad's Revival here. We just don't have a good attack here. I guess we could attack, trade with Gale Drifter, and then Dryad's Revival to pick up Loyal Gryph again. But then they bring Gale Drifter back as a 2/2 flyer, which can block again, but then we can Timberland Guide to... Can Timberland Guide to make this a 3-3 once they bring a 2-2 out. Yeah, let's attack in, take the trade here, because now we can Revival. To get our flyer back. Fortunately, don't have enough mana to cast it immediately, but we can cast it and Timberland Guide, so ours is a 3-3, theirs is a 2-2. However, we're going to start getting beaten down by their Trampler probably here. Yeah, because they're casting another one, so we probably just die to the Tramples now. Probably just outrace us that way. Well, and I think it's our best bet. Yeah, another mana for Sigarda is something, but... And Sigarda is better than Loyal Griff, but I don't believe that'll do it. Yeah, the addition of power and toughness is pretty big here. We can double block the 6/6, or one of the 6/6s. But if they drew an instant or sorcery here, actually no, they have one to flashback. Never mind. If they attack all, we can't do a double block. If they don't attack all, we can try to do a double block. If they have a burn spell, we die. Because they do 3 damage to our face, and then it's a 7/7. Alright, so cast Secrets of the Key. Sure, they're still exactly as big. Draw a card from that one. Alright. Together. Clear one out. Somebody just followed. OBS is informing me, so thank whoever that was for the follow. Alright, well, clear shot can clear out one of these Tramplers, and then we flash in a Loyal Griff to block with. They're dead in 2 attacks. They have 2 mana up here. Maybe they bounce Sigarda. Okay. They don't bounce Sigarda. So, while they're somewhat tapped out, shoot that Elemental for 6. They have a 2 or less instant or sorcery, they save it. Okay, good, they don't save it. This is an incredibly close game here. They could have Delver flip here, which could be like a hasty flyer, so I'm going to cast Loyal Griff instead of Search Party Captain. I'm going to cast it right now. I want to play around a counterspell rather than a removal spell for Sigarda, which might be wrong, but if they just top deck a counterspell, Delver flips to being a 3/2, and then they just attack with Delver and counter Loyal Griff. Alright, so they did not hit the counterspell here. Dryad's Revival 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 mana after that. We could pick up a 2 mana card and cast it this turn. The only card, though, is the Liberator. We have Trample with the Flyer. We just attack both Flyers. If they don't have a response here, that's lethal. Trample for 3, plus 2 from Loyal Griff. Alright, that one was terrifying. If that Delver of Secrets flipped for our opponent, would have been a much different game for them. Incredibly close game there, really well played by our opponent, and a really cool draft deck. I'm very into what they were doing with their blue-red spells deck, but I'm also very happy to win that game because that heads into 4-3, where all of my sadness and anxieties about 3-3 and less all fall apart. 4-3, slightly positive win rate, slightly above average player. I'll take it. I'll take it. Terrifying game. My heart is definitely racing. Incredibly well played from our opponent overall, and I really enjoy the deck that they drafted there. So, we're going to keep this hand, another slow one, but this hand has some big potential, of course, and it's definitely not worth a mulligan. Excuse me. A little hiccup burp there. Scared myself so much. Alright, another 4-mana card, not ideal. We're going to get beat down by their 1/1 for a while here. Well, there we go, 3 mana card. Probably just gets shot down by some kind of removal spell, but it might eat their Ecstatic Awakener for free. That'd be a super good deal, but they are probably just going to shoot it for 2 damage here with some kind of burn spell in red. Yep. So take the 1, go to 18. Well, still, by playing that in response to them attacking, we did force them to use the burn spell and use it right then, whereas they might have wanted to cast something else. So we haven't played our 4th land, so we can grab Evolving Wilds, get a tapped land this turn. We do want the white source for Sigarda's Splendor. And if they don't play another good creature, we could just slam down Sigarda's Splendor and try to draw a bunch of cards, because our hand's very defensive. Broodweaver, Clarion Cathars, we can really hurdle up. And a 1/1 here, sure, it threatens to get bigger with when attacking Eccentric Farmer. I guess the Awakener does too. So if we slam down Sigarda's Splendor, they attack both, and whatever we block, they flip. Actually doesn't pan out super well. Oh, maybe we huddle up first before casting the Splendor. Yeah, I suppose we should. Let's get a few blockers here. 3/3 and a 1/1. Yeah, because I'm considering if we tap out for Splendor to try to draw cards by not taking damage. Oh, especially since they had Infernal Grasp. Casting Splendor would have been horrible for us. They just attack both. We block one with the Farmer. Whichever one we block, they spend 3 mana to give it +2/+0, or 3 mana to make it a 4/4 and draw a card. So that would not have panned out well. Well, we're getting rid of some of their removal. Slash, Grasp, and Rush are gone. They do have a lot of removal over there, though. So who knows how much more they'll have. Only have enough mana to play 1 card here, so play the biggest creature and hope Infernal Grasp was their last piece of removal that can kill a big creature. Maybe they just have like damage spells here. Pax Betrayal, borrow it? Sure, they don't have the mana to sacrifice it right now, so that's fine. Especially because we get a kill off of this. I'd rather kill the Stinger or the Awakener. The all attack's kind of weird here, but I'm very happy. Very happy with it. I think we kill the Awakener. Although the Stinger's definitely a thing. Let's kill the... Actually, we can block a 4/4 all day long with our 4/5. Let's block the first striker. Okay. Now we Splendor up. Alternatively, attack with 2 creatures. Search Party Captain costs 2 mana total. We could cast that and another 2-drop, Sentry and Captain. Well, wasn't expecting this, but it's actually looking like we can turn ourselves into the aggro here, because they have been stuck on mana, especially we do hit the 4th land. They're going to scoop them up there. Just stuck on mana a little too long, I suppose. I guess that was just a desperation attack their last turn, and that explains that. So 5 and 2 now, 1,600 gems and 4 packs being the prize. Very good spot to be as we head into round 8. Well, a mono white hand here, but we do have 3 mana at least, and a borrowed time that's castable. Even if we don't hit the green source immediately, we weren't going to cast any spells till much later anyway, so... see where this goes from here. I suppose this is similar to one of the hands I did mulligan earlier, because our curve is relatively good, so we can lean into that with our mulligans. Uh-oh, blue-black deck. This could end up bad if we just don't have any pressure to put on them in the early game. Blue-black decks do have a lot of synergies going on later in the game. You just send an Awakener, draw 2 cards here if they want. Get 3 more damage out that way by flipping right now. Looks like that's the case. Yep, draw 2. Now they're attacking with a 4/4. Very good deal. Could exile that Awoken Demon, and that's the only thing we know is going to be castable for a while, so it's kind of what we got to do here. Otherwise, We're going down to 11, then we're going down to 7. No real knowing when the end is in sight for the mana here. Oh. Another very sacrificable creature to the Ecstatic Awakener there. And looking like we're going to get the ultimate punishments for the lack of mulligans here. The maximum greed today will end with a 5 and 3. They do go ahead and draw the card with the Awakener, turn it into a 4/4. Toss our flashback card in the grave. I guess if we hit a mountain, one of the most likely cards to help us survive would be Sacred Fire if they play like 2 toughness creatures. But their only card on board there was a 4/4, so it's not going to help against that. I guess there is a medium argument for keeping Sacred Fire even though it has flashback. Well, sad way to end it. Definitely punished super hard here. But that's going to be game right now. They can spend 2 mana to bring back their card from grave and 3 to flip. Alright, well, they had lethal if they brought a card back. If they brought the Hook Haunt Drifter back for 2 and then 3 to sacrifice it, then they're attacking for 8. So, missed lethal there, but not going to matter. Just draw 0 lands this game. Punished for the mulligan choices again. I think in this format, you know what? I think part of this is just how this format plays out, that you should mulligan more aggressively than you have been in the past. Like, I feel like my sense of when to mulligan has gotten just demolished lately with recent sets, and a lot of that is from all of the different ways that previous sets have found their own mechanics to make sure things keep running smoothly. Like Foretell and Call Time, where even if you're stuck on mana, you foretell your card and then cast it for cheap, oftentimes even drawing a card with those foretell cards, like the blue one to scry 2, draw 2 for only 2 mana, the green one to cast it as a 3/3 and draw a card for only 2 mana. Then, when we had Strixhaven, we had Learn and Lesson, and the best lesson at common was Environmental Sciences. 2 mana for a colorless spell. Search your library for basic land, put it into your hand, and gain 2 life. And you would always have access to plenty of Learn spells and Lesson spells throughout the draft. So that made it so also kept your land draws very, very consistent, because you could learn for that Environmental Sciences whenever you needed it. And then in Adventures in the Forgotten Realm, definitely to a lesser extent, but in that set you had treasure tokens, so you could still be casting things when stuck on mana. So I feel like the recent draft sets have probably been sets where you should mulligan less often, but then this set here, Innistrad, you don't really have any of those ways to mitigate mana screw, to find your lands quickly. So you probably do mulligan more aggressively. I think that is a big thing that's been costing me a lot of games lately. I've gotten really punished in a lot of my keeps, my kind of greedy keeps that I would be super happy to keep in any of those formats previously. So I guess that is a big point to take into account, probably the lesson of the day, one of the big lessons of the day for me in this video. Maybe like on some mulligans there, I think 2 of our losses were mainly from mulligan issues. Had we mulliganed more aggressively, who knows what hands we would have drawn. We would have certainly cast more spells, at least some spells in those games. So definitely something to take into account. I am always trying to get better, trying to learn the lessons from my gameplay, and I think that's a big lesson here. My scale of when to mulligan and when not to mulligan has become pretty out of whack recently, just from how fluid most of the recent sets were with how mana worked. So, anyways, that will end today's draft. Still a very solid draft overall, and a pretty fun one. 5 wins and 3 losses here. Not a bad record at all, but that will end today's video. If you're interested in seeing more of this content, you can like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know that you want to see more, and it will recommend it to yourself and others. So, You can also check out the Twitch channel for some practice drafts here and there, and that'll be in the link below. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.